Welcome to Jana's Kitchen, and it is pancake day at our house, and so I am making you out of my cookbook. It is Jana's favorite butter thin pancakes. Yummy. My husband likes nice, thick, fluffy buttermilk pancakes. I actually love buttermilk pancakes too, but sometimes I just crave a nice, thin, crepe-like butter thin pancake. And so that's what we're making today. And it's super simple, and you probably have everything already in the house. And so what we're going to start with is our flour, and it's 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. Really important that you use the right flour when you're making and baking. And so then we've got baking powder, and that is important that you check the date on your baking powder to make sure that it is fresh. And so we have 3 teaspoons. That's a lot. And then I have 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And so I'm going to whisk those together. Grab my whisk here. There we go. And now this is super simple. We are going to take some eggs, and I've got 4 whole large eggs. And so you want to beat your eggs until they are not light and fluffy. You don't want any, it'll even change color. See the color that they are now? They're kind of a dark yellow. They're going to get a little lighter. That's how you know that they're light and fluffy. I've got my handy dandy hand mixer here. There, nice and light and fluffy. Get that ripped off of there. Thank you, Erin. And so we're going to get all of our wet ingredients ready here. And now I'm going to have 3 cups of half and half. And that's just, I've even used the fat-free half and half. So whatever you have, half and half. And there's our wet ingredients. So you can already tell by having 2.5 cups of flour, and then we've already got 3 cups of half and half. And so you already know that these are going to be thin, okay? And so I'm going to add our milk, our half and half. Then I'm going to add our vanilla, and I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Bang, bang. Sorry, I hope you don't have earbuds in. And then I've got our 4 beaten eggs. And now, here's where you're going to go say, what? But these make quite a few pancakes. This is 2 whole sticks of melted butter, and then I let it cool to room temperature. That is a lot of butter. So you know these are going to be delicious and very rich. And then I add, to my pancakes, I normally add just about a teaspoon of lemon. So you can use fresh lemons, or you can use, see how thin these are? It's almost like as thin as crepes. Very thin. And I've got my electric skillet, but you can do this in a skillet on your stove, cast iron or stainless steel or non-stick, whatever you prefer for your pancakes. See, it's very thin. You don't want to get all the lumps out. You kind of want it a little bit lumpy, so don't worry about that. Just make sure everything's dry on that's dry on the bottom, gets mixed into your wet ingredients. There we go. I'm going to let this sit for about 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We've let this batter set for about 10-15 minutes, and so we're ready to cook up some butter-thin pancakes. And so for this, you want to get it nice and buttery in your skillet, even though we've got 2 sticks of butter. Even though this is non-stick, I'm still putting butter in it. And so I've got about 1 cup of batter, maybe a half cup. I should measure that. There we go. And these are going to be, like any other pancake, you want to watch the edges of this pancake and the center. At first you're going to see the bubbles of the grease, okay? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these little tiny bubbles here that are starting to bubble up, and then the bubbles come up and then they break. And that's what you're watching for. That's step one. Step two, start to see the bubbles coming up. Right, here's one, here's one, here's one. Once I start to see them come closer to the center, then I'm going to know. See, these are starting to work in towards the center. As soon as they get to the center, I know that there's one right there that just went. And I'm going to know that it's time to flip. That's the number one thing that people say, oh man, I can't make pancakes. They're always raw in the center. Doesn't matter if they're butter thin or if they're the thick buttermilk pancakes. You have to watch for the edges to dry like that one is. I might have waited too long on that. And then you flip it right there. That's perfect, right like that for these butter thin pancakes. Just like that. Look it, yummy. And then I'm going to even put a little bit more butter on them before I put the maple syrup on them. See how easy these are? They're not as thin as a crepe, but they're not as thick as a buttermilk pancake. And they are my absolute old-fashioned favorite of mine. It's really good if you have lots of butter in the house. These are great for company too. You can do pancakes two ways. Have some thick buttermilk and then have some of the thinner ones. And if you don't want to use maple syrup on them, it's perfect to use like a warmed up like cherry pie filling that you can put on the table that people can put on and eat them kind of like a crepe. Or you can serve warm apple pie filling on the side with cinnamon for fall. You can stack these up and put a cream cheese frosting on the center of them and slice them like a piece of cake. Look at those perfect butter thin pancakes. The second side doesn't take nearly as long at all. And so I'm going to go ahead and cook up some more pancakes and then we'll be back and serve these up. I just put some more butter thin pancakes in the skillet. And I've got real maple syrup, put a little bit of butter on there, and it is time to eat. Thank you all for stopping by Jana's Kitchen, and I am going to have a delicious dinner tonight of butter thin pancakes. Please try them. Put a comment in below and let me know how you enjoyed them. Thank you.